Hey y'all, I'm back for another Cephalid Breakfast League, and today I have a few changes to this deck. This is a list that I trophied with yesterday, and there are some notable differences from what you've seen from me before. First of all, there are 2 copies of Ghost Vacuum in the main deck. Obviously, this is an attempt to improve the Dimir Reanimator matchup, and having Graveyard Hate that I can tutor for off of Urza's Saga or drop turn 1 will hopefully pick up some percentage points in that matchup. Additionally, in the sideboard, there are some changes that are skewed to pick up even more percentage points in that matchup. Flusterstorm, I think, is well positioned against that deck because it provides a semi-uncounterable answer to an Entomb if they go for that really early. Or it could protect your hand against the Thoughtseize. Also, I'm including 1 copy of Stock Up because I'm hoping to have a card that makes for a really good top deck in the mid to late game against Dimir Reanimator or other decks that I do not feel comfortable including the Breakfast combo against. Now, Dimir Reanimator doesn't always have Graveyard Hate to stop the Breakfast combo, but because there are so many things that I feel like I need to answer on that end, to me it makes sense to cut this combo and get all the bad cards out of the deck. Because of that, having value cards like Stock Up and hard to interact with cards like Flusterstorm and Fairy Macabre can help to win those games. Sadly, I'm going to be going without Agatha's Soul Cauldron, one of my favorite cards to play with. And the reason for this is it just costs 2 mana. Ghost Vacuum costs 1 mana and does basically the same thing in the Reanimator matchup. And because of that, I want all of my Graveyard Hate, all of my slots dedicated to Dimir Reanimator to be as high value as possible in that matchup. I don't want any of those cards to not bring me a lower chance of winning. However, if it seems that I have to go up on main deck Graveyard Hate to attempt to answer that matchup even more than I already am, maybe a card like Cauldron could work its way back in. Maybe a Soul Guide Lantern that can be cycled could be good as well. Hopefully, we'll run into Dimir Reanimator and we'll get to put this strategy to the test. I am on the play for match 1 with a decent hand I'll keep. Alright, I'm getting Thoughtseized. I'll allow it. Thankfully, this hand is pretty immune to a Thoughtseize. They'll probably take Nomads. This could end up just being Dimir Reanimator. Hopefully this Daze will keep me alive for a bit no matter what. Swords is a nice pickup. Flooded Strand, go. Now, you might wonder why I didn't play the Saga there. And the truth is that this Daze, if I intend to use it, means that if I played the Saga this turn, dazing something would mean I'm not able to make any constructs. And I would like to have access to that. So I'm going to fetch a Meticulous Archive, Hedge Maze to the graveyard, and then this turn I'm very likely to play the Saga. Okay, another Nomads, that's also nice. I'm not going to play it out into what could be an Orcish Bowmasters, and there's no need for it to eat a removal spell so soon. So I think Saga Pass is the line. Oh boy. Yeah, just Dimir Reanimator. Sure. Well, I can Swords the Atraxa with the trigger on the stack. Yeah, that's good. Swords this. Not looking good here. Ooh, Stifle. Ponder, Polluted Delta, and Entomb. I guess that could be worse. Getting Wastelanded. So they took the Entomb over the Brainstorm when they resolved their Atraxa, which to me means they likely have another Reanimate spell. I'm just going to say Misty Go. really doubt I'm going to pull this one off. If I top deck an Illusionist or a Nadu, we have a game. Okay, Tamiyo. That really makes me think they have the Reanimate, because pairing the Brainstorm with the Tamiyo would have been a really nice play unless they had, unless Tamiyo was their draw step just now. Another land was not ideal. I think I'm just gonna hold. Well, I'll play out the land so that if they wasteland me, I can still Nomads and Nadu next turn if that's what I draw. But if I draw another land after this, I'm gonna start holding the lands. There we go, another monster coming out. Okay, they have the Reanimate spell. I'll discard an Archamoeba. Well, I'm going to start fetching to thin. I like all the cards in my hand anyway, so if I draw a Brainstorm, it's fine. I need to start trying to high roll my draws. Ghost Vacuum, just in time. Guess I have one more draw step. I'll discard the Ghost Vacuum to the Archon trigger. Right, Nadu off the top, Swords. I guess Swords would keep me alive. So I guess it's correct to go to their upkeep and Swords. Maybe they hardcast Force of Will into a Daze. Alright, with this on the stack, I'm gonna Swords. They probably just Force, yep. Alright, good game. Okay, against Dimir Reanimator, all the removal for their fair plan. I'm gonna bring in Stock Up. Flusterstorm will hopefully hit an Entomb. Fairy Macabre and Pithing Needle, and I'm gonna board out my Breakfast combo and Tamiyos. Alright, this hand has lands and spells. Saga can get a Ghost Vacuum if they don't go for it too quickly. I think I'll start with the Hedge Maze. Hopefully don't get wastelanded, but if I do have lots of lands, so. This looks okay. If they Tamiyo, I have Swords. And if they do that on turn 1, I will get to play around Daze as I cast Swords, which would be great. Another land is not what I want. Alright, I'm getting Thoughtseize. They'll probably take my Nadu. If they take my Force, it means they probably already have Entomb Reanimate ready to go next turn. I'm going to do Saga next turn, because I really want that Ghost Vacuum as soon as possible. Force, very good draw. Another Thoughtseize, sure. If I draw another blue card, I'll feel really good. If not, just have to hope to dodge it for a turn. Nomads, that's okay. I'm going to fetch now, so that if they play a Wasteland next turn, I at least get to make a Construct. To explain that play, if they play a Wasteland, and I still have Urza Saga in play, then I have to fetch to make a Construct, and they can Wasteland in response. Put a card on top. I bet it's either a Wasteland or an Entomb or something like that. Okay, so it looks like the Saga's gonna pop. That's nice. I would love to start eating their graveyard, and now even lands are good. Bowmaster, yeah, that's fine. I think they should have done this in response to me making the next Construct, but that's fine. Nadu. Alright, so I'm gonna choose the line that does not lose to a Force of Will. I would like to have a Force of Will. I am going to get Ghost Vacuum, and I'm going to play this out. And I'm going to say go. Hopefully I don't get Wastelanded next turn, but the Ghost Vacuum should buy me time. I've already been Thoughtseized twice, so there's only so many more times I can get Thoughtseized. Haha. Sure. Yep, predictably took the Nadu. Alright, this Ponder is almost certainly going to shuffle immediately after Brainstorming. So if they Murktide, I have swords. They don't really have good attacks on board right now, and we're starting to get the cards out of their hand. Murktide backed by Force of Will is probably their best line at this point. I am not going to Surveil because if I Surveil, they can Wasteland me off of green. I'll take the Brainstorm. So, with my opponent at 12 and me at 19, I think I should attack here. All those Thoughtseizes are hurting them, so I would also like to get them beneath Entomb life total so that if they have Petty Theft on Ghost Vacuum, they still can't reanimate. So beneath Reanimate life total, I should say. Depending on what they do here, at the end of turn, I'm liable to Ghost Vacuum up one of my Nadus. I really don't want them to reanimate a Nadu. In fact, it probably would have been correct to do that last turn, since I have 2 in the graveyard. Alright, my opponent did have a Murktide, so I do have swords for that. Maybe they'll force. I like having the second swords. And that likely means I'll have to stop attacking because they're going to gain 8 life. Alright, so I will end step swords. They force, sure. I'll go ahead and go to my draw step, draw a card, so in case they have another Force of Will, maybe I will also have Force of Will. Clear my Nadu with the Ghost Vacuum. Alright, cool. Now if they force, I can Fluster. Try again. They do have force, so I'm glad I went to my draw step rather than trying to do that right away and use my mana more efficiently. My opponent's at 16, I think I will still attack here. I win this race as is. Another Murktide, my goodness. Well, that was a good draw. Now I think I have to Surveil. Getting desperate. Ponder. Yeah, that's fine. I'll Ponder into the Bowmasters. If I find a Nadu off of that, that's pretty good. Ugh. No, I don't think I can do that much pondering. Alright, well, it's looking bad. No attacks. I'll just take the damage. Well, maybe I draw a Nadu. Plains. So I play Nomads. I go to 1 next turn. Seems okay. I'm going to block this with everything. And then activate the Nomads. Activate the other Nomads. And now the Construct is definitely what will die. I'll go to 1. Pray to top deck a Nadu. Sure. Ponder. I can't Ponder into Bowmaster. GG. On the play for match 2, mulligan. Going to 5. Alright, I'll keep this bottom, I guess, 1 Nadu and the Brainstorm, and I'll go Cavern Ghost Vacuum, and hopefully that keeps me alive for a little bit. Scalding Tarn Go from the opponent. That is a line that Reanimator plays, so maybe the main deck Ghost Vacuum will come in handy. Another land is good. That means I can Nadu next turn if I don't get Wastelanded. Hedge Maze. Okay, so probably not Reanimator. Stock up is fine. This is very likely Show and Tell. I'm going to go ahead and cast this Nadu. Hopefully I can brainstorm next turn into a Nomads. Hopefully they don't resolve Show and Tell this next turn. Let's see. Alright, well I'm going to try to force this. Sure. Alright, this game's over. Bring in Force of Negations. Flusterstorm, stock up. Get rid of the white cards, get rid of the planes. Get rid of the ghost vacuums. Bring in Tamiyo. And trim one Cephalid. They do play stuff like Grafdigger's Cage. Let's try this. Keep. I'll start with Meticulous Archive. Cavern would be great. Force of Will, great. I'll keep that. My opponent is likely going to be surveilling in the end step. I'm going to go ahead and play this Tamiyo. Hedge Maze, would love to see a land, sure. I'm going to play the Nomads. Because next turn I can Nadu backed by Force of Will. That feels pretty good. Hopefully they don't have a soul land. Hopefully they tap out just to do like Brainstorm and Ponder. Emrakul. Alright. Well, the fact that they surveilled away the Emrakul means they probably have that component of their combo, either an Emrakul or an Omniscience or maybe a Traxa. If all they do is put in an Atraxa off a Show and Tell, I can probably beat that. Ponder, cool. Maybe they ponder into land in Grafdigger's Cage. That would be, I think, the biggest possible win. Shuffling. Maybe they need a land. Okay. Unfortunately, they're holding up Veil of Summer. I'm going to go to combat. I think what I'm going to do is immediately flip this Tamiyo, because that way, if I have to Force of Will something on their next turn, I can buy back the Force of Will. I really don't want to play Nadu out into Force of Will plus Veil of Summer. That would really be a blowout. So this line feels safer. I think card advantage is a big factor in this matchup. So let's see what they do here. So I'll put back Dread Return and Shuko. Now I have Force plus Nadu next turn. Hopefully they tap out. That would make me feel a lot better about going for that. Or if I draw a Cavern. Ancient Tomb was really good for them there. If they Show and Tell, I will Force Pitch Nadu. Just try to stop it. If that doesn't work out, I can put in Nadu and hope that they're putting in like an Emrakul or something like that. And hope that all the cards that I flip off of that beats that. Force of Will, pitch Nadu. There we go. Alright, well, they're going to get to Show and Tell. Okay, well, let's see what they flip. Well, this obviously could be much worse. I'm out of Surveil lands, so I'm not going to crack this on my end step. They chose Born Upon the Wind, Eureka, Polluted Delta, Omniscience, and Emrakul. Alright, let's see what we flip off these Nadus. Shuko. I guess I knew about that Shuko because of the Brainstorm. Oh, and this is Dread Return. Yeah, I'm really messing up here. How much happened in that turn, I just kind of blanked. Alright, well I like all those forces. My opponent has to go to discard now. So, let's start doing this whole thing. I would love to be able to win the game this turn. In order to do that, I'm going to need to draw some creatures. Play out the Saga. Cast an Archamoeba. Get 2 more cards off of that. Illusionist, cool. All right, use Tamiyo to buy back the Brainstorm. That resolved. Cast Brainstorm. So we know 4 of the cards in my opponent's hand are Emrakul, Eureka, Born Upon the Wind, and Omniscience. They can have a force, they could have 2 forces, but should have all of that covered via my Force of Will and Flusterstorm. Alright, my opponent just scooped it up. For game 3, I'm going to keep things as they are. On the draw for game 3, I have to mulligan this no-lander. Alright, I'll keep this, and bottom, I guess Nadu. As sad as that sounds, I see a turn 2 backed by Force of Will. Hopefully that gets the job done. Cast Shuko. If I draw a blue card, I'll have double force backup. That would feel great. So my opponent is not casting any spells. And I drew Narcomoeba, which actually means I can't go for it. So, cast a Ponder. I like forces, sure. I think I'll go force, Flooded Strand, and I'll play the Flooded Strand and crack it if I don't sense that I want another Force of Will. Drawing that Narcomoeba really sucked. Any other blue card would have been much better. But that's how it goes when you play Breakfast. Sometimes you draw the cards that need to be in your deck. Back before Nadu, Breakfast would run 3 Narcomoebas, and the idea was that you would get to use one of those to flashback Cabal Therapy and then go off. But it was also nice that if you did happen to draw one of the Narcomoebas, you did not have to, you were not prevented from going for it. Alright, well my opponent has lots of mana. And let's see. Do I want another Force of Will? I could play out the Narcomoeba next turn and then have another Force of Will. I think I just want to fetch, and I have double force in my hand. If I can't go off with Illusionist, I can just find better cards. Get Meticulous. Aha, a better card right there. I will definitely keep Nadu. And cast Nadu uncounterably. Force of Will, great. Another blue card would be nice. Okay, Cephalid. So I have triple force to back up this Nadu. Next turn I can go for it, if that seems correct, because now Nadu is the extra creature I need for Dread Return. It may end up that I end up completely dumping my hand next turn to stop their combo. Stock up I allow. Actually, maybe I should go ahead and force a stock up because I'm going to be refilling my hand next turn myself and might even have to go to discard. Show and Tell, I will do everything I can to not allow. Force pitch Narcomoeba. Veil of Summer, force the Veil. Pitch Cephalid Illusionist. Force the Veil, pitch Cephalid Illusionist. Well, as foretold, my entire hand is completely dumped. If they force now, if they happen to have that, they wouldn't have anything to put in off Show and Tell. So this position feels like it's going to stick, and I get to reload next turn. What would stink is if their last 2 cards are another Show and Tell plus, you know, Emrakul or probably a Traxo would be better on this board state. Okay. Well, there goes a lot of my Force of Wills. Tamiyo, awesome. Let's see how much we can reload here. Shuko, not good. Cast Tamiyo. It's at least 2 more cards. Cephalid, cool. Nomads, even better. And we got there. All right. So that was pretty rough, that one turn where they had the Veil-backed show and tell, but the triple force, just trusting in Nadu to reload, was sufficient. I'm on the draw for match 3 with a hand that certainly is weak to Wasteland, but I like the Force, I like the Ponder, and the Daze, so I'm definitely going to keep this. My opponent is mulling. Alright, Tamiyo, turn 1, sure. Well, this could just be another Dimir Reanimator matchup. Let's see if we can get our mana underneath us. Okay, great. No shuffle. Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's fine. They can't take away combo pieces. They could take the Force. Yep. Thankfully, I hid the Nomads. So I'm going to go Tundra and cast it. It's going to be tough for them to reanimate a monster through a Daze next turn with the number of cards they have in hand. They could force this, go to 1 card. Yep, it's a good play. Hopefully I draw another land and can start stuffing this Tamiyo with Nadu. They pitched a Daze. My opponent's going to get to start drawing these clue tokens and reloading. Swords, okay. So I'm going to swords this in response to their clue. Hopefully won't have to worry about the Tamiyo anymore. Oh, they have Entomb. Okay, sure. Alright, well now I have to hold the swords back. Alright, yeah, this is... They have not made a land drop, so I will hold the swords. No land drop, okay. Well, maybe there's a chance. Not much of one, but if they don't draw something good soon, maybe... another sword's not good. Alright, well, if they have Reanimate, they get an Atraxa. I can swords it before the trigger, but we saw how that worked out. Guess I won't be swordsing it. Yep. Yep. Sure. Now I could have floated a white there, but then they would just go to their second main. So I typically don't float mana when people wasteland me. This was not the best reveal. Man, another stifle list. Ponder, Daze, Bloodstained Mire. Well, Daze feels pretty good when I'm stuck on 1 land. Meticulous Archive, okay. Brainstorm's good. Maybe there's the most remote of chances here, but doesn't look good. Okay. I'll put back an Illusionist and Nadu. I'll go to the end step where they're liable to crack a clue, and then I'll swords in response. They force. I'll daze that. They did know about the daze. I guess they could have assumed I put it back off of the brainstorm, but I didn't. They have a brainstorm. I'm getting a turn here. I'm concerned that their shuffle effect for the brainstorm is Entomb, but I can't really play around that. Hopefully they just daze my Nadu here and we move on with our lives. Okay, no. Maybe they go to the end step and entomb rather than using this mana here. Okay. Yeah. Animate dead. Alright, well, I can daze that. And they had the daze. Cool. I guess at this point I'm just going to discard the Nadu. And no reason to cast Cephalid Illusionist. It'll just die to the trigger. I'm going to go to 1. And hopefully they have nothing and I top deck Shuko or Nomads. Nope. Alright, well you can see that 2 main deck Ghost Vacuums is not really holding it together against this deck. I mean, really, if you want to try to have graveyard hate for it, I mean, I feel like you probably need at least 4 pieces because they put Entomb on the stack so quickly, protected by Thoughtseize or protected by Force of Will. This really is an oppressive deck to try to beat. And sometimes I go on streaks where I beat it a lot, but then all of a sudden they have games like that. And this is the second time this league that you can see just how kind of impossible it can feel to beat that deck sometimes. I'm on the play. I don't love it, but I'll keep it. Hopefully I don't get wastelanded off of my blue mana. But I should be protected from a quick combo. Okay, I'll keep another blue land. No, wasteland here wouldn't be so bad. Island Go is about the weakest start I could imagine from this deck. I'll play an island myself. Brainstorm, sure. I think a really good play for me would be if they wasteland this. Next turn I'd really like to get the Saga ticking and progressing towards having protection. Yeah, Tamiyo is fine. So a couple options here. I can Brainstorm trying to find white to Swords this. I can play the Saga and hope that between constructs that I get to make and either Graveyard Hate or Pithing Needle, I can answer the Tamiyo with both the value that that would provide and the board presence to pressure the Tamiyo. And I think that's the better play. This gets punished by a Wasteland, but let's just see. Okay, the opponent is flipping the Tamiyo right away. Provided I don't get wastelanded and provided I don't have my constructs removed, I think this is the best case scenario. But if they have removal for the constructs, I do have Pithing Needle. I would rather get Graveyard Hate off of this Saga, but the flexibility that I have is pretty nice. Ponder, cool. I think I will Ponder. I'm not going to Ponder. I'm going to play the Cavern. And now I have Construct plus Flusterstorm. That feels pretty good. They're liable to be cracking this clue. Yes, okay. Well, this feels like an okay position. They're ticking up the Tamiyo and appear to be passing the turn. So Saga will pop, make a construct. They could Bowmaster this. They go to cleanup, probably discard a monster. Okay. Discarded Force of Will. Alright, so I think I'm going to, again, make a construct. And I am going to Needle Tamiyo here. I think that with the Flusterstorm and the Force of Will, I really doubt I'm going to have to face down a scary creature. So the tutor for Tamiyo removal feels pretty nice there. I'm going to go to combat. Attack my opponent. Fatal push, yeah, that's fine. And tempting though it is to ponder here, I'm going to just hold that back so that I can hold up Flusterstorm. This looks like a Murktide. Sure. Now I will be searching for white mana. Cast Ponder. Found it. Okay. No. I think I can get a basic plains here. Clear the Murktide. Next turn I can get the Saga going again. If they force this, that'd be great. Okay, they are forcing. I'll Fluster. Hopefully I don't have to cast Force again if they have another Force in hand, but I wouldn't mind that position. Actually, if they do that, I'm just going to hold on to the Swords for next turn. Okay, did it work? Yes, okay. Well, now I feel pretty ahead. I do have a single Force of Will to keep them off of graveyard stuff for a few turns. And that doesn't feel amazing, but they're down to 3 cards, so their 3 cards would have to be Force of Will, blue card, Entomb, and Reanimate. And the fact that they went for this quick line here with Tamiyo was super punished by the Needle. So I'm pretty happy with how I played that. They're almost certainly going to be taking my Brainstorm. But that's fine, as long as I draw another blue card quickly. Of course, if they now Entomb Reanimate right now. Okay, they took the Swords. Interesting. I wonder if their intention is to Barrowgoy for something like that. Let's just get this Saga going and attack. Alright, my opponent just said go there. Stifle Chapter 2. I probably have to let that go. That's a little painful. But, yeah. I really would rather them stifle Chapter 2 than Chapter 3. Push, sure. Now with so few cards in their hand, I feel okay brainstorming. Alright. Combo backed by Force of Will. Sounds like the plan for me. Here we go. Alright, got game 2. Didn't need Graveyard Hate that game. Hopefully the Graveyard Hate will come in clutch next game. I'm on the draw game 3 with a bit of a heartbreaking hand, but a hand I'm going to keep. I have the Ghost Vacuum. I don't have blue mana, but I do have white spells and white mana. So, provided I don't get wastelanded, I feel okay about this. My opponent is going Underground Sea Go, which definitely makes me think they have an Entomb. So hopefully they don't have Force of Will and this Ghost Vacuum sticks. It did stick. Okay. Now I just have to dodge Wasteland. Okay. Engineered Explosives. That's pretty good. Okay. thankfully I have an answer for engineered explosives that I can play around days. Awesome. I'll cast Ponder. These cards are okay. I think I'll put the Flusterstorm on bottom, followed by Swords, followed by Plains. I hope that Saga Constructs, backed by Swords and Ghost Vacuum, can deliver me a win. If they have Wasteland, they're liable to spend it this turn. Yep, you have Thoughtseize. Okay. Well, you can't Wasteland me off Swords. They're probably just going to hold that Wasteland for a Saga now that they've seen it. Bowmasters. Yeah, that's good. But I do have a Swords that I hid. Oops, I didn't get their Thoughtseize off the Ghost Vacuum. I really hope that doesn't come back to haunt me. Alright, well, Swords your Bowmaster. Force of Will. Okay. Play the Shuko. Well, I feel not great about this position, but I don't feel woefully behind either. They could Wasteland me off blue. They're probably going to save it for the Saga, though. As long as I dodge Murktide Regent, I'm going to feel okay about this one. Ooh, so now they can Wasteland me off of blue and the Saga. That's pretty good. But they have a very slow clock. Yep. Well, I think I'll just get this out of the way. They'll Wasteland me, but now they have to think about, well, I don't even know. If they Wasteland me off Savannah, I might not be able to make constructs. But they took the safe play. They're really hoping to ride this 2 power worth of threats to victory, and it very well might work. Saga would probably be my best draw, or Blue Source. Blue Source is good. And I should still have Surveil lands in my deck, so it's looking up. Kept a card on top. Tamiyo, that's good. And flipping it right away. I think I Flusterstorm this. Basic Island. Yeah, Basic Island. And Fluster. So they're Hellbent. Of course, they're drawing 2 a turn. My best draw is undoubtedly a Nadu. If I draw a Nadu, I'm liable to win the game. Saga would be acceptable as well. Archive, okay. Nadu on top, I like that. Alright, please don't Wasteland me this turn. And please don't draw a Force blue card. Yep. Play a land that's not Wasteland. Alright, well. We get to put Nadu on the stack. Here we go. Alright, got a Nadu. Let's see where this goes. Force of Will, that's excellent. And a land, okay. Well, Force of Will is great. I feel pretty favored now. My opponent likely has to attack with the Tamiyo. Okay, no attacks from Tamiyo. Ghost Vacuum, just start hitting their lands. And I'll hold the fetch land. I might be able to clear some of this stuff next turn. Let's start drawing more cards. I need to hit a Nomads in core. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep holding back Nadu. I want to keep them off this Tamiyo. Like, just getting to sit back here with Force of Will, continuing to draw cards. I think that's better than letting them draw 2 a turn as well. Wasteland looks pretty bad here. I will fetch a Surveil land. And I'll do this before the Ghost Vac, because if I get a creature, I could put that underneath the Ghost Vacuum. Daze is not good. Alright, time to draw more cards. Another Daze. Well, that's probably what I'll pitch to the Force of Will. Macabre is nice. Alright, there's the Nomads. That resolved. So the party keeps going. Another Macabre. Now even if they kill the Nomads, I can Ghost Vacuum it back next turn. Another Nadu. I don't think I should play... Actually, I'm going to go to combat. Swing with Nadu. Yes, I could have played this Shuko out and put another damage on, but I think I want to hold as many cards back in my hand as possible. I'll play a new Nadu. That resolves. I'll keep the new Nadu. And now I get to do this whole thing over again. Draw 4 more. Another Nomads. Another land. Yeah, lands are fine right now because I'm already at 8 cards in hand. Alright, got there against Dimir Reanimator. GG. Alright, I'm on the draw for match 4 with a really awkward hand, but I think I'm going to keep it. It has lands, it has Nadu, it has a swords in case they have creatures, so I think it's good enough. Alright, my opponent is starting with a Bayou into a Dark Ritual. Okay, well, I don't have Force of Will, so I'm probably losing here. Dothie, and then Thoughtseize me. Wow. They went for definitely the maximum value line. I think they probably would have had a safer bet going Thoughtseize first and then Dothie, but Drawing Dread Return was a terrible top deck. And therefore I don't want Cephalid Illusionist, so I will bin that. Thankfully this deck is likely to not have Force of Will. And if they don't have Wasteland, I'm probably going to get a turn 3 Nadu. And they might even have to, okay, another Thoughtseize, sure. They'll take a Nadu. Hopefully at least one card from my opening hand will make it. Oh my god, Thassa's Oracle. Edge Maze. Brainstorm is good. They didn't have another land, so that means they're not holding up Bowmaster. Alright, I'm gonna play this Nadu. See what they say about it. It was tempting to Brainstorm there. Maybe on their upkeep in case they have Dark Ritual, Orcish Bowmasters. But I think I just want the bigger creature on board. They have taken some damage off the Thoughtseize, so our clocks are pretty competitive here. They might feel compelled to hold back the Dothy to hold up swords in case I draw nomads. Let's see. I wonder if I'll get Thoughtseized again, but probably not. They didn't Thoughtseize me last turn. Alright, so they are sacking their Voidwalker, and they want to clear this Nadu right away, it looks like. That's fine. I'll draw a card. I have Brainstorm. Oh, actually, they took the land. That makes sense, too. I hope they don't edict me. Dark Ritual, sure. They have Shouldered? Oh, no. Okay, so they have this main deck. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's see what their other cards are in their hand before they scoop. Okay. Cool. Alright. Interesting. Well, Removal seems pretty good. Force of Will seems pretty good. Flusterstorm, maybe. Probably good against the Thoughtseize deck. I didn't see anything I really want to Needle. I didn't see anything for Graveyard Hate. So, I think I'll board out my combo, though. Because they are going to have Dothies for sure. They could even have Ley Lines. So I have one more card to bring in. I guess a Force of Negation seems pretty good. They didn't see... I don't think I'm going to want the Pithy Needle. If I see something I want to Needle this game, I'll have it in for the next game. But Dothy Voidwalker, not really worth needling. Alright. This hand looks pretty good. I'll keep. I did leave the Ghost Vacuums in. Well, a lot of times these Witherbloom command... A lot of times these decks that run Witherbloom Apprentice are decks that also have Reanimation. So maybe they do. Maybe they have it weirdly reversed where they sideboard into Reanimation. Or maybe they had it in their main deck and I just didn't see it. This is definitely a weird deck, an off-meta deck, and just have to do your best against stuff like that. I'll go Island Vacuum turn 1. Alright, my opponent's on a mull to 6, and here's a card that may be completely irrelevant. Let's see. Alright, opponent is getting rid of a Fatal Push, and I'll eat that with my Vacuum. Okay, play an Archive. Prismatic Ending. I don't think I want that. If the opponent goes land, Dark Ritual, I'll have to Force of Negation that. Okay, cool. I like that I'm going to get to stock up next turn. Shuko, okay. Cast stock up. I would love to see a blue card and a Nadu. Okay. I'll get the Force of Will rather than the Daze because Force of Negation might not really be that good. And then I like the Saga. Force of Will, Saga. And any order of those cards. Saga, and I'll play out Shuko. Drawing the Daze was pretty nice. That was a card I was definitely considering off of the stock up, so I'm glad to see it. Now I have 2 bits of interaction, or possibly even 3 if I get another turn. End step, Abrupt Decay on Shuko. Sure, I can get another one off the Saga, so that's not bad. Duress. I'll Force a Negation the Duress, since I can hard cast it. Maybe they go for it now. Another Duress. Alright, sure. If your last 3 cards are Dark Ritual. Okay, Cool. Interesting that they took the Force. Their combo does cost 4 mana, so... Alright, Thoughtseize Bug, or in this case, Duress Bug. Got the Force of Will back. And I like to see Nadu on top. They've had a pretty defensive start here, so they could have another Abrupt Decay. They could Abrupt Decay my Shuko in response to a Nadu, but I would feel pretty ahead. Necrodominance. Wow. Looks like I'm going to Force a Will that. So definitely next game I want to get rid of these Ghost Facts. And instead have Force of Negation. Push, sure. Get rid of your Necrodominance. So I do have enough mana here to make a Construct and Nadu. Get that Shuko out of my deck. Get a Tundra. I probably should have gotten a different land, but that's fine. Sometimes I get careless. I just assume I'm winning the game here, but you know, if I can't fetch white, maybe I won't be able to cast the swords I just drew. So it definitely does matter. Alright, well there's a white source right there, so that's nice. I can't die to a Witherbloom. There's another Saga, and this is looking good. The worst thing I think that could happen is if they have another Necrodominance or another must force card right here. Cool, got there. Alright, so game 3, I very much assume I don't want the Ghost Vacuums. I'll put those away, bring in Force of Negation. Pithing Needle, again, I didn't see anything that I really want to needle. And Consign doesn't seem really worthwhile. Tamiyo is probably just better than that, so I'll run this list. On the draw for game 3 with a nice hand. If they can turn 1 me, good for them. If not, I should be able to find some forces. I have Witherbloom covered. Unfortunately, Lotus Petal makes me think they might be trying to turn 1 me. Sure. Dothy? Okay, maybe it's just a Thoughtseize into a Dothy. Maybe they have another Dark Ritual and a Necrodominance. This game, or this deck, likely, if they have Necrodominance, is just using it to draw cards. That's still probably good enough, though, right? If they do Dothy here and don't have a land, that has to be a pretty weak start for them that I'll likely overcome. My opponent takes the Brainstorm, and they have another Dark Ritual, sure. And a Necrodominance, turn 1, okay, sure. Yeah, my opponent just drew to the max hand size. I'll play the Shuko. Alright, my opponent is just going land go. They'll probably draw more than one card here. Yeah, they're drawing a bunch now and going to clean up. So they're digging. If I get to turn 3 ending this Necrodominance before they do anything truly busted, that'll feel really nice. Tamiyo, not great. Cast Ponder. Lands and forces seem good. I think I have to take a Force of Will. So I'll put Negation on bottom, followed by Hedge Maze, followed by Force of Will. That means I still won't be able to Nadu next turn. unless I choose to surveil and hopefully draw a land. I might do that. Let's see how desperate things seem. Duress, sure. If they don't draw what they need pretty soon, they're going to run out of cards that they can draw, or run out of life. Okay, they took the force. Wasteland, my goodness. Okay, well, given that they have Wasteland, I definitely don't want to get the Hedge Maze. Fetch basic planes. Alright, so do I Nadu or do I Necrodominant? Kill the Necrodominance. I think I kill the Necrodominance. I'll do it off of a Savannah. Now maybe they need the mana and can't wasteland me. Let's see. Maybe that was a cowardly line, but let's see what they do. They know my hand. They have Dark Ritual. Thoughtseizes me, sure. They take the Nadu. And they wasteland me. Force of Negation is nice. I think I have to hold up Swords and Force of Negation. If I draw another blue card, I can play out the Tamiyo. But I want to have interaction for what they have going on. Dothy, sure. Do I care about the Dothy? I think I'll take a draw before I cast Swords, potentially. I'll play out the Tundra. I still can't cast the Tamiyo, but it would be nice to be able to hard cast Force of Negation. I think I'm just going to get this guy out of here. Necrodominance, Force of Negation. Nice. Well, they had to realize there was a reason I didn't play out my Tamiyo. They didn't know about Force of Negation, but surely playing a Tamiyo was a pretty high value play, so hopefully they weren't too shocked to see that that didn't resolve. All of their Necrodominances are in exile, so they have to be running out of win conditions. They could have Witherbloom Apprentice, and they could go Hellbent with that combo. I would love an Urza Saga, another land. Sure, I'll play it out. Now I can't get wastelanded off of a Force of Negation hard cast. Force of Will, nice. Well, I'm not losing the game anytime soon. Duress. I guess I'll Force a Negation that. They have the combo right now and can deploy it, they'll win. If I draw a blue card, I have Force of Will. Land. I have hardcast Force of Will now. I definitely feel favored in this draw-go situation, but it is a little scary that they can threaten a win. Wasteland, yeah, that's good. I guess I'll hold back the Misty. I don't want to surveil and then have them wasteland me, because one of the cards I'm definitely looking for is Nadu, and then I can't cast it anyway, so. Drop. Cool. Now I can't get wastelanded off of hardcast Force of Will. What a weird deck. A wastelanding, necrodominancing, bit of a disaster, I would say, honestly. Alright, and now I will surveil, now that I can't get wastelanded off of green. Get hedge maze. Swords, no. I want to find something that turns the corner. Bowmaster, sure. At 17 life, I will definitely let you have Bowmaster. Ponder, I'll even ponder into it. Stock up seems good. Draw the stock up. And I'll cast stock up. Take the Force, take the Tamiya. The Tamiya will be nice because, oh, and I should play it out right now. Unless they remove it, which I would certainly allow. The 1 power on this with Shuko means that they cannot, okay, push, yeah. I'm not in a position to fight over that. Well, I'm on a 5-turn clock, looking for Nadu. Looking for like any sort of body that stands in the way. Yeah, that's gonna be too fast of a clock, so unfortunately I have to go Hellbent to stop that. Saga. I'll play it. They're certainly gonna wasteland, yep. But maybe I draw another Saga. They might not even have this Chain of Smog combo at this point. But if they have it, they win here. Ponder, yeah, I'll cast it. Looking for Nadu. No Nadu. I even think Saga is too slow at this point. Swords, okay. Alright, I'm gonna kill their most threatening creature here. Another Bowmaster, sure. So I have to get Nadu basically this next turn, and I can't cantrip into it, I'm probably dead. Push. Sure. Yeah, that's gonna kill me. GG. I'm on the draw in the last match with a pretty good hand. I will keep. Alright, I'm getting Thoughtseize turn 1. If it's Reanimator, they probably just take the Ponder. Alright, opponent took the Ponder. Alright, Brainstorm was nice. I was tempted to start with the Saga just to get Ghost Vacuum as soon as possible, but Brainstorm was a good reason to play out Tundra instead. Hopefully I won't have to cast this as an emergency to get an Entomb countered. Lotus Petal from the opponent, so it's probably not Reanimator. It might be a Doomsday deck. Probably still have to emergency Brainstorm if they choose to cast Doomsday. They would have maximum 3 cards left in hand if they cast Doomsday this turn. Brainstorm from the opponent. They really didn't want that Brainstorm to get Daze. No land from the opponent, it looks like. That's pretty good. They could still Dark Ritual and Doomsday next turn around Daze, which would be scary. Plow could be good if they Thassa's Oracle with cards left in their library. I'm going to go Saga and say go, because I am now assuming that this is Doomsday. It could be Storm, but especially if it's Doomsday, the construct beatdown will severely limit their ability to even win the game. Okay, Ponder looking for lands. Alright, my opponent has a scrub land. And they're thought seizing me. Alright, I'll brainstorm in response. Not ideal, but it's okay. I do imagine this is Doomsday. I'll put back the Surveil and the Force. If they do happen to have like Dark Ritual Doomsday, they could go for it now. Seeing all these amazing cards in my hand, they must... Okay, they took Brainstorm. They must realize I hid something even better. Alright, I severely doubt that my opponent's deck is a Wasteland deck. Nevertheless, I'm going to fetch now and pass. Dark Ritual. Doomsday, alright. Force of Will, pitch Nadu. If my opponent forces back but can't win, they're liable to just lose to my combo, so they might be stuck. Okay. My opponent is forcing back, so they're going to get to Doomsday with one card left in hand. If that one card is a Cycler, or perhaps a Brainstorm, and they can completely empty their library and cast Thassa's Oracle this turn, they'll win. If not, I will certainly go for it next turn with the Illusionist. Whenever an opponent is resolving Doomsday on Magic Online, you want to look at their graveyard because a card will become highlighted if they choose it for the pile. It's known information to you. Alright, my opponent is passing the turn with 7 life and 1 card in hand. Alright, so I'm going to go for it this turn. Thankfully I didn't draw anything stupid like Thassa's Oracle or Dread Return. I'm going to cast Illusionist, and I'm not sure what one card they have that could beat this, but I'll be correct, and I'll first go to combat. And ideally, I'll be able to put a win on this stack that leaves cards in my library. Though if they had a removal spell, I would be very punished by that. Let's try to win. Alright, my opponent scoops it up. I guess they wanted to see my library. So against Doomsday, I just want cards that are going to stop their combo. I'll see if I have room for Tamiyo and stock up based on my cuts. So I definitely want to cut white cards. I can trim the plains. I can trim the ghost vacuums. So I think this is the best plan. Stock up seems a little slow. Third, Tamiyo, there's just no room for it. I don't think any of this stuff is a cut, so I'll submit. Game 2, I'm on the draw with a hand that is pretty unexciting, but is a definite keep. I have Consign to Memory. In case they do get to combo off, I have Force of Negation to try to prevent the initial Doomsday, so this is definitely a keep, though a little weak. I would love to have, if Shuko or Nomads was a cantrip, or Nadu or Cephalid, it would be much better. Turn 1 Ponder from the opponent. No shuffle. Illusionist is nice. Is that a reason to start on Nomads here? I could go Nomads and then Force of Negation their play. And if that doesn't resolve, maybe just try to win next turn if they're forcing as backup. I think that's a reasonable plan. I'll get Savannah, play Nomads. Obviously, Force of Will would be a better card in hand here because I'd be able to back up my combo. I could let their Doomsday resolve. But at least now this is such a threatening position that if they went for it, they'd have to win. Days, nice. So I think I can't go for it here. I think what I'll do though is play the Shuko, equip and attack, and start pecking away at their life total so that Doomsday is worse. And I'm pretty rolled up here in case they attempt a Doomsday. Urza Saga would be one of the best draws that I have. Force of Will as well. I was happy to pick up the Days, but with both lands untapped, I don't think that's going to help me combo off here. So I'm going to respect this shields up posturing that they have. Brainstorm from the opponent. Every time that they cantrip, I like that. This Nomads is really basically hitting them for 4 because if they plan to win for Doomsday, if they plan to win with Doomsday, they're going to lose half their life. So I think these 2 power little pecks are actually pretty significant. Another Nomads. So I will attack for 2. Put them to 15. And I'll say go. I think the difference between having another power on board versus holding up Consign replicated is worth not playing out the Nomads. As of right now, if they Doomsday, they go to 7. Provided that it survives all of this stuff. Okay, they fetched a Scrubland. They must not have another Surveil. I thought perhaps they were going to Swords the Nomads, but they did not. I would not have fought over that. My opponent has cast Thoughtseize. I don't think I can really do anything about that, but that gets them down to 12. That means they would Doomsday to 6 life. Seems like the obvious take here is Force of Negation, but let's see. They could also take the Days if they have a Force of Will. That way I have to 2-for-1 myself just for them to stuff that. Yep, Force of Negation is the take. Days, nice. Not amazing, but I can hard cast 1 Days and return an island for another. Okay, now they're at 10 life, so Doomsday would put them to 5. Ideally, I would like to get them to where they can't really use Street Wraith anymore. And I'm trusting in the double Days to get me another turn for that. Again, if they tap out and have to pass the turn, I will Illusionist. Okay, they can now play around 1 Days. My opponent casts Tamiyo. That's nice. That'll prevent me from doing damage to them next turn. And they cast Ponder. If my opponent taps out here, I will combo off. They shuffled the library with the Ponder. If they want to crack clues with the Tamiyo, they will have to let me hit them with Nomads. Another Days. Well, I think I have to pass the turn. It'd be funny if they didn't have the Force of Will this whole time, but I think as things stand, I'm supposed to presume that they do. Because they haven't cast a Doomsday, so they have to have kept something worth keeping in their hand, and I think that would be a Force of Will. I'm sure right now they're digging for Doomsday so that they can cast it with Force backup. Okay, this time they did not shuffle. They have yet another land. And they're continuing to use Tamiyo to protect their life total. Another land is nice. I think I will pass the turn, holding up triple days. I can hard cast one and bounce islands for the other two, but I'm hoping to just get to Surveil. Wow, my opponent continues to have no play. I'll get a Meticulous Archive. And I don't want another land. Another Shuko would be a good pickup. Saga would be great. Ponder, yeah. I'll cast Ponder. Force of Will seems good. Nomads on bottom, followed by Flooded Strand. I'll draw the Force of Will. And I will play out Nomads so as to not go to discard. This means next turn I can at least start hitting them for 1. And maybe if they pass the turn to me again, maybe between Triple Days and Force of Will, maybe I can get there. Thoughtseize from the opponent, okay. Sadly, I'm not holding up Triple Days here, but I am holding up Double Days, which is enough as the board stands right now to counter a Doomsday. It'd be interesting if they take Cephalid Illusionist. Last time they chose to take a counter spell. This Thoughtseize will put them to 8 life, which means if they Doomsday, they're down to 4. And now I think we're getting into the territory where Street Wraith is starting to look less plausible for them as a line. Okay, my opponent has Dark Ritual. That resolves, yeah. Okay, so this Doomsday here will put them to 4 life. They have not made a land drop this turn, and they could cycle into Thassa's Oracle. I assume they're willing to do this because they have Force of Will backup. If they have Force backup and can put Thassa's Oracle on the stack, I lose. If they don't have Force backup, then this is a mistake. But I assume that they do. If they have to pass the turn with all of these dazes and I get a turn, Illusionist backed up by Force of Will should win the game for me. I'm going to let Doomsday resolve and let's see what happens. They might just have it and that's fine. It will also be nice to have the information of what might be left in their hand based on their exile pile. You can see my opponent is now highlighting the Thassa's Oracle. Not that that's a big surprise, but you can see why looking at the graveyard is important. Alright, my opponent is casting a Brainstorm. 3 cards left in hand. So my opponent has all 4 Force of Wills in their exile pile. So, first of all, I feel a little dumb. I probably could have won many turns ago. I think I can't allow this, given that they have Cavern. I think I will Force of Will this, pitching a Narcomoeba. And let's see if this buys me a turn. It should, because even if they have, let's say, Flusterstorm to counter the Force of Will, I would double daze the Brainstorm. And then I could go off with a single daze backup next turn for my kill against their 2-card hand. Alright, the land was a really good pickup because now I can triple daze. I cannot, in good conscience, pass the turn back to them. So, I'll make sure I get an island of some kind off of this. Doesn't really matter which one. Interestingly, if I had Memory's Journey in this list, I would feel pretty good about this situation because even if I didn't dread return back my combo, I could mill cards until I hit a Memories Journey and held that up to spoil their Oracle trigger. But right now, I'm just going to cast this Oracle, or cast this Illusionist, and try to win. I don't know what they could have here if they have Force of Negation. Okay, they just conceded. Good game. So, a 3-2, again, just feels okay. You can never complain about a 3-2. But let's look back at the list. So the big theme for this list was trying to answer Dimir Reanimator as best as possible with some different inclusions. Flusterstorm is a good protection against discard spells and against Entomb. In addition to that, the two main deck Ghost Vacuums are a nice hedge against an early reanimation strategy. As you saw in the first match, though, that wasn't enough because I didn't find either Ghost Vacuum. They were really quickly able to put it on the stack, protected by a Thoughtseize, I believe. And the game ended before I found it. I believe I drew it right after they reanimated their Archon of Cruelty. So, if the plan is to beat Dimir Reanimator, this likely still is not enough. It's a tough matchup, and it's one that I think for Breakfast is at best 40-60 at the moment. And it's the most important matchup to try to flip if you want to be competitively successful with this deck. It's likely that in the future I will test going down on at least one Fairy Macabre and going to even another main deck graveyard hate piece, such as a third Ghost Vacuum, perhaps mixing it up with a Soul Guide Lantern or returning to Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Additionally, Stock Up does feel good in that matchup because of boarding out on the Breakfast combo. Eventually, if you are able to, say, stop a Tamiyo and stop their graveyard, it becomes a bit of a top deck war and a battle of card advantage, and Stock Up is a really nice card in that setting. I'm still not sure how I feel about it overall, but it's okay. Apart from that, there was that loss to the green-black Witherbloom deck. Sometimes you see decks like that that's pretty much just some homebrew that, you know, someone wanted to play in a league, and you can never be mad if you lose to stuff like that because you can't really build your deck with a deck like that in mind. It would have been nice to pick that up, and I think that Breakfast with 3 Force of Negations usually can beat a lot of the crazy stuff. It's possible trimming another Force of Negation for some additional piece in the Dimir Reanimator matchup might help. However, I do feel pretty maxed out on slots for that. I'm already boarding down out of Breakfast combo and Tamiyos, and if I want to even do the Nadu thing, well, I don't think there's any additional cuts. So it's likely that the best solution to continue to improve that matchup is to put an increasing number of main deck answers into the deck. One additional benefit of that is it does strengthen Urza's Saga. So having not only tutorable answers, but having access to larger constructs is hopefully a viable plan to continue to improve that matchup. It's definitely been an interesting attempt to try to improve it, but overall, it didn't feel like I was sacrificing too much in the other matchups. Hopefully, next time it'll go better, and hopefully I can pick up all wins against Dimir Reanimator, but it's the best deck in the format for a reason. So we'll live to fight another day, and thank you for watching.